Rewiring beliefs behind your drinking. This is a two-step process for rewiring your mind with the old drinking habits that you used to have, and you're wanting to change your habits into the new identity moving forward in your life. Okay. And this is a two-step process to actually start to rewire your mind. The mind and your subconscious mind specifically likes repetition. So the first exercise will be all about a writing exercise, and it'll be uncovering and investigating what's going on with your drinking story because we wanted to bring it to light. The second step will be creating an audio that you will do, which will be very powerful from your investigations that you did in step one. So, in the first step, in looking at the writing exercise, we're going to be looking at the old story. Then we'll be looking at your turning point. You wouldn't be watching a video and training like this, or you wouldn't be listening to podcasts or YouTubes if you weren't concerned about your drinking and you did want to change. So there is a turning point of some description happening in your world. And then the final step will be the new chapter, and this will be looking to new realizations about around your drinking and where you want to go to from here. Okay, but the narrative that's been running your show, we don't want to avoid it. If anything, we want to bring it to light, and we want to get deep on the current story that's happening. We don't want to have to relive old past traumas, right? Because a lot of the time that's why people end up drinking, because they're covering emotional pain, right? But what we want to do is we want to be an investigator and be the observer to our story of what's going on. Because once we start observing what's going on, then we can start to really, look at the links in the chain, and it starts to make sense to us, and it brings awareness, and with awareness will bring empowerment. So it's a three-part exercise. Step one, and you grab a piece of paper, and you want to be doing this 3, 4, 5 times during the course of a couple of weeks. The deeper you go, the better, more insights that you will get. But you want a blank piece of paper, and you want 3 columns. Okay, the first column is the old story, the second column is your turning point, and the last column are the new learnings and the new chapter that you want to start to build. Okay, and I'll go through that now and give you examples actually. So the first part of this writing exercise is the old story, right? And what's been driving you. And you want to be answering these as promptly as possible. And you want to be free writing. Too many times when we are trying to write things down, no one's going to be looking at your answers. And the first answers that come, right? You just want to start writing down and get into a flow state of getting things down on paper, because if you stop, will get in the way of your flow state. Okay, and you'll be over analyzing. What you want to do is you just want to write and just keep writing and just keep writing as fast as you can, with these questions in mind. When do I tend to drink the most? And you write it down. When do I tend? Is it as soon as you get home? You open the fridge and you crack open a beer, or you start cooking and you open up a bottle of wine and you just can't wait for that first sip. When is it? What emotions usually lead up to the drinking? So this is more about, what are the triggers happening? What are the cues happening? Is it when, in the afternoon about 2 o'clock and you've got 3 more hours of work, and you start to think about, how much, alcohol do you have at home? Do you have enough for the night? Do you need to stop by the bottle shop? All these internal logistics and dialogue that you've got going on at work or during the day. What's the trigger for that? Is it a certain time? Is it a certain place? Is it a certain person? What role does alcohol play in your daily rhythm? Is it something that you do more so like, you know, by the end of the week where you're spent and you just get into it on a Thursday night, then it leads into Friday drinks because you're not working on the Saturday, and then the weekend is just, you're just really relaxed and you're having more drinks than you want to. What's it look like for you? Okay, but no judgments. You're writing it all down. For me, I didn't really have a weekend rhythm. My weekends were every night. So, no judgments, right? And then if you had a voice behind my drinking, or behind your drinking, what would it say? Don't edit yourself, let it flow. This is about noticing patterns. The more you can write down and ask yourself each question 3, 4, 5, 6 times, the deeper that you can go on it, the better, right? And here are 3 examples of what people have written. And they're 3 different types of personas. The first one is example A. So for these questions, the first example might be, when do I tend to drink the most? I drink the most at night, when I feel bored. Or person B, I drink when the days feel long. Or person C, I drink the most on weekends or when I feel anxious. The next question, when it was about the emotions, what emotions lead up to drinking? Person A said, I usually drink, when I'm stressed or when I'm lonely. Person B talked about, I turned to, when I feel overwhelmed and annoyed, or when someone triggers you, you get pissed off, right? Or the last one is I reach for it when I don't want to deal with my feelings. I just want to numb out, and I don't want to have to deal with the day that I had. I just want to relax. Okay. Um, the next question was, what role does alcohol play in your daily rhythm? And for person A, it was all about, it helps me to relax. It also makes me tired later, because it's all about, for this person A, it was all about, getting tired so they can go to sleep, right? Person B is all about, their evening routine. It forms part of that. And person C, it fills the empty time instead of real rest. Because a lot of the time it is boredom, between by the time you get home, and by the time you go to sleep, you've got, say, 3, 4, 5 hours, there. And some people get bored, so it breaks that monotony. And the voices, behind the drinking, for example A, the voice behind it says, this is the only way to feel calm. Example B was this, I deserve this and it helps me unwind. And example C was, just one more, because it's gonna make me feel better. Okay. But the most important thing about doing step 1 with these questions is you're emptying out and you're leaving nothing unturned, right? You investigate, you know, and you're like your own private investigator, and you're writing these down in column 1. So that's step 1, okay? In part 1, okay? So this is the first section, right? Now, the second section is all about the turning point, right? And I say it's the turning point because, you know, this is where a bit of light's coming into your life, and you're starting to notice that the drinking is, if you kept doing it for the next 6 to 12 to 18 months, things could definitely change, not for the better, but for the worse in your life. So, you're taking it upon yourself now to really look at, okay, this is a turning point, what's really going on. And this is a beautiful place to gain that awareness, right? And to ask questions in this group, right? To start, educating yourself, and the questions I want you to ask yourself, in the turning point section in the middle column is, what moments lately made me question my current drinking habit? The next one is, what no longer feels aligned with how I drink? You know, And the next question is, where in my life do I feel a gap between who I am and who I want to be? Okay, because these questions and your answers are gold, right? These are gold, and I'll tell you why they're gold in when you create your audio, but they're gold because the more you can go deep on these turning point questions, the more you can invert these, right? If they are quite negative, and invert them from a real negative to something that can create it into like a positive affirmation. Okay. And examples, we'll go to persona A, B, and C. For question one, these are some examples, that you may even think of. What moments lately made me question my current drinking? So persona A was a few days ago, I noticed, I wasn't proud how much I drank. Persona B was I got tired of waking up foggy and it made me question things. And persona C was a friend made a healthy change. So someone else in your life made a change and it made you think, well, it makes me think about my own habits. And, if they made these changes, then, and they're, similar to my age and they're really turning a corner, then maybe I should be looking at doing that as well. These questions and these thoughts come into your mind for reasons, and we need to notice them because they're new questions rather than the old, habitual commentary that goes into your mind. When you do have a new insight that comes in, it needs to be noticed. Uh, Turning point and question number two is what no longer feels aligned with how I drink, right? And persona A said, it doesn't match the kind of person I want to be anymore. Person B said, drinking feels less fun and more like a chore or a habit. That's definitely for a lot of people where, you've got to get rid of the evidence and it's got to go into the bins and it's, or you go to the recycling center and you notice, wow, that's, I'm making $60, $70 from recycling all these bottles. So, that's what I used to think, right? And the persona C is I don't like how easily I say yes to a drink, right? And the final question is, where in my life do I feel a gap between who I am and where I want to be? So persona A said, I feel a gap between my real self and the version of me, who's calm and confident. Persona B said, I want to live with more energy and control. And persona C said, I want my actions to line up with my goals and not my patterns. And I know, like, when I was still drinking, like 3 years ago, over 1,000 days ago, I would set goals all the time. But I was like in a holding pattern. I was going around and round in circles, and I was getting dopamine hits from setting goals and planning, but never following through. And that's because I had good intentions to set goals, but the elephant in the room, which was the drinking, was not addressed. It was everything else bar that. And it's really difficult to attempt to get healthy. And that's the number one thing that I really recommend for a lot of people. If you want to set a goal, the first one you really want to set is somewhere around, yes, relationships. Yes, it could be financial. But the first one you want to set around, you're drinking less goals or, abstaining or sobriety or resetting goals is a health goal, because by you feeling better, everything will flow from there. Okay, but that's the turning point. That's number two, right, in this first process, okay? The first process was, answering where you're at now, with your old story. The second process was the turning point, becoming more aware. And then the final pillar, or what I could say, the final column, is all about your new chapter. So this is where we start to really look at, what happens in your life is not necessarily what you think you see, right? It actually it's your perceptions of how you see the world, not how you see the world. So it's, the filters going on in your mind, which is how you're perceiving life. And you can see life however you want to see. Wayne Dyer, a famous self-development guru in the 70s, said that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So this is looking at this is step number 3, is looking at things differently, so you can start to change and be different. Okay, 3 questions that I have for starting to rewire your narrative is, what's the same theme of my new story? What is the theme? There's got to be some theme. There's got to be some superhero in there, like, a new name for yourself, even, a character, or a new theme. Like, is it clarity? Are you going to be the person, that gains all this clarity? Or you're going to be more energetic, or you're going to feel like you've got more self-respect within you because you said you were going to do something and you actually followed through, which is awesome, right? Number 2 is, what identity am I beginning to step into? And question number 3 is, if I had to name my future self, what would I call it? What would you call your future self? The powerful completion to this sentence, right, will get your theme happening, right? By completing this sentence, I'm becoming someone who, and then you finish the sentence. So please answer these 3 questions deeper and deeper every single time, and ask these 3 or 4 times, and then see if you can come up with a compelling sentence by the end of it. And here are examples again of persona A, B, and C. When they ask the question, what theme of my new story? What's the theme? My new story is about clarity and confidence. So that's person A. Person B was all about energy, and person C was all about self-respect. And everyone, because drinking and the drinking story is such a broad spectrum for so many people. So, you come up with yours, your empowering one. You want to, when you're writing this, you want the hairs on the back of your neck, or you want the hairs on your arm, or you want a tear of gratitude, or you want some emotional state change happening, and you can feel like, yeah, this is good. I can feel that I'm not just writing from a logical mind, I'm actually writing at a deeper level. This is feeling at a visceral level. This is feeling, congruent with me. The next question is, what identity am I beginning to step into? And it could be, I'm stepping into someone who chooses what's good for them, or person B is, I'm starting to act like the person who cares for their mind and body, or person C is, I'm growing into a person who listens to their needs. And the next question is, if I had to name my future self, what would I call it? And person A said bright me, person B said strong me, and person C said clear-headed me. And finally, from all of that, finishing the sentence, person A said, I'm becoming someone who trusts their own choices, right? Pretty powerful. Person B said, I'm becoming someone who wakes up proud of themselves. And person C said, I am becoming someone who handles feelings in healthy ways. Okay, so they're the 3 columns. You've got column 1, which is all about your old story. Column 2 is your turning point, and column 3 is all about, 3 examples of, pretty powerful questions of, the new identity that you want to, take on. Okay. And in summary, your results aren't just based on what you believe. They're based on how much your body believes it as well, like how deeply you believe it. And we trained our body to unbelieve, things that, or things that we said, where we said we were going to do something. We said we were only going to have 1 drink, and we ended up having 5, and we did that over and over and over again. So our body doesn't really believe when we do what we say what we're going to do. Is you start to do the repetition, and that's how we start to trust ourselves, right? So each time you fill out the column framework, you say your new beliefs out loud and let your voice and your nervous system hear it, then breathe into it. Remember, repetition is what created the old belief, and repetition is what will untrain the old belief and retrain the new belief. But I want to go a step deeper with the rewiring, and this is where we get into you creating your own audio, because the most hypnotic voice in your life, okay, is your mother's. The second most hypnotic voice that you have is your own. So I can create hypnosis audio for you, and I do actually have some that I will introduce into the group. But I want you guys to have the experience of creating your own audio. And it's really easy for people that are going, well, how do I do that, Ned? I'm not really techie. Okay. Everyone has a smartphone. On your smartphone is a voice recording device. It comes standard with all smartphones, whether they be Apple or analog, Samsung, or whatever it is. Okay. So that's all you need. Okay. Just take action on this, and I guarantee you, you listening to your own voice with the positive lessons and affirmations is going to be so beneficial for you. Okay. And this is the way that I want you to do it. Like, with all the investigation that you've done, I want you to find 5, 6, 10 affirmations in the present tense, writing them in the present tense, that you can start to record into your phone. And I'll show you a structure that you can use to really help you get into state. Okay. But the most important thing, firstly, is to write these affirmations in a present tense, like it's already there, it's happening. Okay. Because the mind does not know the past. The subconscious does not relate to the future or the past. It just relates to now, what's happening right now. Are you safe now? Are you being hunted now? Are you like, where is my next meal coming? Where are my next dopamine, endorphin hits coming? Okay. So firstly, you want to get down all your positive affirmations. Secondly, you want to record it on your phone. Okay. And I'll show you how I want you to do this in a second. You want to be taking advantage of the two most hypnotic states in the day when you do listen to your affirmations, right? And they are in the morning and in the evening. When you're in a hypnotic state, in a natural hypnosis state, when you're waking up and going from a delta to a theta to an alpha state, and then your day, when you get to your phone and you start working, or you start to get into the day, you get into a beta state, right? But you're naturally going from a delta theta to an alpha state. And that first 10, 15 minutes in the morning is when your subconscious mind, right, is open to any suggestions, right? And we are always getting programmed, whether we know it or like it or not. So rather than getting programmed by the television, or getting programmed by social media, or getting programmed by, external influences, let's do our own reprogramming. Okay. So your mind, and before, the conscious mind really clicks into gear, when you're waking up, your subconscious mind is open to suggestions. And if your subconscious mind, think of it like a castle, and the drawbridge is down, and we can enter into the castle. So these learnings that you've got going, these affirmations, you want to be feeding your mind for at least 10 minutes in the morning. Okay. And the same thing, and the opposite thing happens in the evening, where you go from a beta state into an alpha state, then into, your theta state and delta state when you're getting to sleep. So that's another beautiful time to listen to these, affirmations at night. Okay. And And it doesn't matter if you make a mistake. The most important thing is just to starting to get the learnings that you got and put them into a recording. Okay. And it's all about repetition, repetition, repetition. You want to be doing it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the way through, and see if you can do it for 28 days. Okay. Do it for 28 days. You don't have to do it twice a day. If you can do it in the morning and in the evening, even for 7 minutes a day, beautiful way to wake up, a beautiful way to go to bed. Listening to your affirmations that you made is so good for you, right? And it's so good for rewiring your brain. That's what's going to rewire your brain, the repetition of the positive affirmations. Okay. But this is an example, and I'll leave this PDF, whoever wants to download it, as a structure of how you can create your own recording. I'll blow this up so you can see it. Okay, but first off, you want to, and this is just for your own reference, you want to get into a parasympathetic state. You want to get into, like, if you had a really busy day, you want to be getting into a rest and digest state. And the simplest way is to do some box breathing, where you're breathing in for 4, you're holding for 4, and you're breathing out for 4, and then you're holding for 4, and you're doing it, over a couple of minutes. Okay. And then you keep going at your own pace. Right? Each breath, it makes you feel lighter, easier to relax. Okay. And then this is where the hypnosis, script that you're creating can start. You can say something like, okay, you hit record on your phone and you say, okay, 5, your shoulders start to drop. 4, your jaw loosens. Right? 3, a slow warmth spreads through your chest and arms. 2, your mind feels open, clear, and safe. And 1, fully relaxed, present, fully ready to build new beliefs. So you can do the box breathing and record that, and then get into the 5 to 1 count, or you can just do the 5 count and record that, or you can just do the breathing and the 5 count, and then you can just record the affirmations. So it's up to you. Do it however you like. Okay. Now these are this is an example, right? And this is just a guided, guided hypnosis or meditation, right? Imagine you are standing on a soft, open path, right? Behind you is your old story, the one that feels heavy and confusing. In front of you is a new chapter you're stepping into. You don't need to rush, just notice the light, the space, and the feeling of possibilities. Okay. And when you're talking, you're just talking like you're telling a story to like a 6-year-old, right? Now let these new beliefs settle gently into your mind. You don't have to try to believe them, just hear them and let them land in your own way. And then you say your affirmations. I'm learning to trust myself more each day. I make choices that help me feel strong and clear. I'm becoming someone who listens to my real needs. I can handle my feelings in healthy, honest ways. My future self is guiding me with calm and confidence. I'm building habits that support who I want to be. I deserve a life that feels good in my own body and mind. I'm breaking old patterns with patience and care. Every small choice moves me forward, and I'm becoming the version of me that I'm proud of. And when you do this, you can do, I'm learning to trust myself more each day. You can say that over 3 times, or you can say from affirmations 1 to 10 once, and then you can repeat it and then repeat them again. It depends how you want to do it. Okay. And then you take a deep breath and let these settle inside. Let them feel real. Let them feel positive, because your feelings are what you're communicating to your body is the rewiring that's happening, right? The feeling. It's not just saying it, but you're feeling. You're feeling that you're trusting yourself. You're feeling that you're making stronger, clear choices. You're becoming someone who listens. You are getting more confident. You are more confident. And then once you've done that, and please, I have to stipulate that please don't listen to this if you're handling heavy machinery. Don't listen to this while you're mowing the lawn or driving. Okay, please, this is something that you do in the comfort of your own home. You can lie down, you can sit up, or you can do it, when you go to bed, or you can do it upon awakening, or you can even do it whilst you're going to sleep and just have it on repeat, because your subconscious mind will actually take this on whilst you're sleeping, which is pretty powerful. Okay, and then we did the intro, the affirmations, and the outro is returning, feeling refreshed, right? In a moment, I'll count up from 1 to 5. And when you reach 5, you'll feel awake, steady, and refreshed. Okay, and 1, a gentle energy returns to your body. 2, your breath deepens. 3, your fingers and toes wake up. 4, your mind feels clear. And 5, eyes open. When you're ready, awaken, present, refreshed, carrying on with your new beliefs with you. Okay. So that's one way to do it. Obviously, this will be the ending of that would be one where, you're doing it in the morning. You could change it a little bit, for night. It's up to you. But that's the hypnosis audio that you create from your investigation that you created. And it's beautiful. It is so good for you to listen to your own voice saying to yourself these powerful affirmations over and over and over again. Okay. But this is the training for tonight. And as I mentioned, it's a 2-step process to rewiring your beliefs behind your drinking. The first step is uncovering your drinking story and bringing it to light. The second step is using, the learnings that you gathered from your drinking story, good, bad, or ugly, okay, and inverting the ugly ones and the bad ones, and inverting them and making them into affirmations that you can feed your mind. It's a beautiful way to be. But that's the training. Thank you so much for watching. I will stop sharing my screen if the computer will let me. And thank you so much for watching. And it's Ned Marrow here signing off. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And with the PDF, if you do want access to that, it will be in the link below. But have a great night. Thank you for watching. And, if you got anything out of it, I'd love to get some feedback. All right. All the best, guys. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.